Good morning. It is Friday, the 16th of October. And while for a lot of us, it is, and for me specifically right here, it is another day in my office, in the office. But of course, it's also Bubble Friday. And yes, while the banner says turn your sound on now and the bubbles has no sound, we're working on that. We loaded that a while back to test it, and be honest, it's just a lot more work to go back and mix a new video and put it in there. So right now, the family's enjoying their bubbles. Maybe on a Friday, maybe on a Tuesday. Their families do what they want to, having fun there. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. As the thing right there in the corner says, this is Bubble Friday, or Bubble Friday is what it is. But this is my little message for Bubble Friday, and this Bubble Friday got a I got a pretty good message coming up, and of course, reminder to vote. Real big reminder to vote. That's something really big to talk about as well. But Bubble Friday, the explanation, the reason behind the Bubble Friday thing is something that me and some folks came up with at a former employer where we were dealing with some really troubling times, a lot of stress going on, a lot of uncertainty in the ranks, and we were looking for a way to kind of blow off steam and just sort of just be happy in a moment. And we went to the idea of going to the dollar store, buying lots of little bottles of bubbles, and then during breaks in the day, there's an outdoor break room because a lot of people there smoked. It's media, so even though it is 2000, it was 2000 by then, people still a lot of people smoked. So and it went out to the break room, this open air porch area we called it for people went and smoked and took breaks and just kind of chilled and had little off comments. Just go when we went back there and blew bubbles and giggled and took pictures and acting like little kids for various parts of the day when things got really stressful. We turned into a sort of a thing. We had some dignitaries blow bubbles with us. We are not allowed to share who they are for sake of punishment, even though the people that were going to punish us don't really have the control they have anymore. And it's just turned into a bunch of friends saw me put it on social media, so they did it as well. A few months back, I'll say about 6 or so, I don't know exactly, about 6 months back or so, one of those friends who was original folks to kind of take it and blow it up a little bit asked, hey, dude, we can do some Bubble Fridays. This life and the coronavirus is kind of kicking off then, is stressing us out. So this is the best I can do. I can't really gather a bunch of folks out in the porch and blow bubbles and take pictures these days. But this is the best that I can do in the meantime. So hopefully you are enjoying your Bubble Fridays or your Bubble Thursdays or your Bubble Saturdays, whatever it is. Basically, all I'm asking you to do today is the day because most people are taking a break from work on today or after today for the fifth day of the work week, the weekends off, is to take a little time to blow out some steam to celebrate the past, whatever, however long your shift was, 5 to maybe you're a 6 or 7 on, 3 4 off type person. Relax, sit back. Bubbles are symbolic, but you basically inhale, exhale, and you've blown away some of the stress to work your way into your weekend, if you will. As I say often, every couple of Fridays, I will enjoy other type of bubbles to kind of tickle your nose. And if that's the way you want to enjoy your Bubble Friday, as long as you are of legal age and are pretty responsible at home, someone else is driving. If you're not, please do. We encourage it, actually. So I also take this time because I get a little bit of audience to do a little bit of commentary. It's something that I don't get a chance to do a lot of the way I'd like to these days. I do produce a gajillion podcasts and write these random things on the internet here or there, but because of just life and whatever, I don't think out of the audience, I don't have the time, I don't really have really to put in there. In fact, I don't really enjoy these things. I really don't like doing on a video, but I don't enjoy these because they really are sort of rushed and put together. So I thank anybody who pops in either live or in the future. I will acknowledge as many as I can as we get through that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what I can do better. The quick note, the interjection for the actual message I had came from an email I sent out in my email newsletter. I have an email newsletter. I'll put links to that in the chat a little bit later if you want to join it. It was, when it was up and running, a consistent weekly newsletter of things that I was producing, things I was sharing, things of other people were doing of note that I thought was note going on. Time and situation had to go away. And every so often in those things, and most of my projects, I'll have some semblance of life and try to revive it. And I do it live. I don't just take notes and see what I can do. I actually launch it there. So 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, in the real frame of time, I wrote a quick email. It was basically stating about me having a bad day, but me getting through it and trying to come back again. To be inside about it, it was actually the day that I was describing was actually about two days prior. And it took me a while to get a chance to basically edit that little short email, set it up in the email provider, in its newsletter provider, and send it out. So it was actually like 2 days prior. Well, what happens when people do, and it happens, I do as well, when people revive dormant mailing lists and people notice that all of a sudden they're getting emails from a list they hadn't gotten from in a while, and people realize they really didn't miss seeing those emails, is people unsubscribe to it. And the people that unsubscribe to it were, for lack of a better term, they're people I know. So I'll say they're friends or friendly people unsubscribe to the list, which is to be expected when you revive something like that. But at the same time, I wasn't actually promoting it. So it wasn't like I'm asking for new people to come in because old people are leaving. So I had a good chunk of people leave that newsletter. Bummed out about it. Really sad. The last week had the ideas to do the letter again, but didn't get a chance to do it because of circumstances beyond life's control. This week, I had a quick window of opportunity to do it. So it was a very quick letter that I did that basically opened up with the plea, please don't leave. And just said, basically, 2 weeks ago, I released a letter for a long hiatus of wait. And I know, and as expected, some people left. I knew it was going to happen. It was not a surprise that people would leave because it's fresh correspondence from an old list, but it still hurt a little bit, kind of sucked. And so I basically just kind of poured that out and said, every time when people kind of get started on something, there are fits and starts. And every so often as a start pops up, there will be people who have joined in on the effort because they're friends or friendly. And at some point in time, they can't continue the effort to keep you going. Although when you get things started, it's usually friends and family that help you keep things maintained until the tertiary, the other people can come in and actually offer that support, whether it's moral support or whether it's mostly financial or just or inside support. So the letter basically said, I'm looking forward to a day where I can get to go closer, where a lot of the friends that are pushing things up right now are offering more moral support and less of the burden of me actually saying I'm successful or financial. And also ask people, if you have any suggestions, let me know. I had people who email me suggestions, so I will be incorporating a lot of those things into all my offerings really soon. But one person asked a question, happened to be Georgia Morris, who is watching me live, popped up live with good morning. So good morning, Georgia. She's talking to the camera. Good morning, Georgia. Hopefully you're doing well today. Basically asked me, which is the question that I actually ask myself more often, but don't get forced with it from other people, so I don't address it, is what exactly is the point? Now, that's not exactly how you put it, but basically asking, what is it that you want help with? What exactly is it you really want pushed out there? And so that's something that I've got to remember, and something I have to actually manage, because most of the times I am throwing up randomish things. Like right now, you see at this very moment, you see the banner that says, you want to support my efforts, go to buymeacoffee.com. And then I replace that with this one that says, you can see my podcast work at jclevelandpayne.net/podcast. And I've got I've got 12 active podcasts. Most of them aren't very long, but I've got 12 different things of probably 7 or 8 different sort of genres. So they're different things. So, here's a list of shopping lists. What do you want? What looks appealing? I'm asking you what's appealing, but I'm not actually telling you why it's appealing. So I'm going to work more on that, which means these things are going to be much less rambly, assuming I still have the time to do it. Basic reason why it's so rambly is basically I have the time. This work comes out. Don't really work out the thought process going forward. I do on this next topic I got going forward. So I did actually put a lot of thought into this one. So you'll hear that. But you'll be seeing more. You'll be hopefully seeing more of my work coming out again, because I will have more focus on what its intention is, not just proof of concept and waiting for some epiphany for it to happen. So you'll see more work coming out, and more calls to action that are specific. Tell me about this piece here. This thing has 3 sections. We want to know about section number 2 this week. Will be more of that coming up. So I thank everybody in advance for any feedback they give, whether it is positive or negative, because some of the things I do, some of the ideas I come up with aren't all that great, to be honest. They're throwaways, but they're there for a reason. And even if some of it's kind of hurtful and harsh from people I know and don't. And trust me, if I know you, you think it's harsh, and you're like, dude, stop doing these Friday things, I'll stop doing the Friday things. It's that simple. So the actual message part I have is it's stealing, essentially, but sometimes stealing is the best form of flattery. I read an article a few days ago about gratitude, with a notion on gratitude, something I actually talk about a lot, that had a very interesting push onto the thought process. And it's actually something basically I've said in the past, but it comes to light with the passing last week of Eddie Van Halen. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Sorry, that was really rude. Eddie Van Halen passed away after a fairly long battle with cancer. We've known about it for a while. He hasn't been performing for a bit, and it's one of those things that when he stopped doing real performances and touring, a lot of people were sort of keeping up with it, because it was like, wow, Eddie Van Halen, that's my childhood. Eddie Van Halen, that's MTV Hot for Teacher, Jump. Eddie Van Halen with that is my childhood. I mean, and Eddie Van Halen, who was not classically trained, which is weird to say in guitar or rock language, but not trained like as in technical terms for playing guitar, had to learn on his own. Didn't have a lot of money, which is basically wild. So he had to figure things out on his own. He had to figure out guitars on his own. And because of the style he created to make it work, which worked on so many levels, people started emulating him, and people actually started building equipment and guitars to handle his style of play. And then a lot of people saw it, and they wanted to play guitar and wanted to play and be Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen was the guy. Literally, the people wanted to be the lead singer or whatever, but most people either wanted to be the drummer, because everybody loves the drummer, or the guitar player, and they wanted to be just like Eddie Van Halen. They want to play on stage with Eddie Van Halen. A columnist wrote an article about a conversation he had with a friend, just a regular guy, and Eddie Van Halen passed. And just in the conversation, the friend was like, Eddie Van Halen is literally the reason why I'm a musician, the reason why I play guitar, the reason why I want to do this thing was watching him play made me want to play. I just wish I had a chance to tell him that before he passed. Now, this columnist has no connection to Eddie Van Halen. This friend of the columnist has no connection to Eddie Van Halen and no actual deep connections in the music industry. He's just a guy, for all practical purposes, who happens to play guitar. He plays fairly well, but he did it because he was inspired by watching this other guy who was famous doing it. So the thing that the columnist said that he reminded us that because it was kind of a jerk move, so saying it was really rude, but he went through a list of things in the column. Eddie Van Halen is a public figure. Van Halen has some sort of fan group. Eddie Van Halen has some sort of fan group. There's plenty of Facebook groups of people who love him. He is probably on Facebook. He is on Instagram. He is on Twitter specifically. So how come with all those different ways to do stuff, there's PR people, there's news people, whatever, he didn't spend the 30 seconds to go on to Twitter, look up Eddie Van Halen, look for the one with the blue check mark, and just say, dude, you're the greatest. You're the reason why I play guitar today. Thank you so much. Now, the reason why he didn't and we don't do that is because we don't expect any sort of response. We don't expect to get something back from saying that. We have this sort of Chris Farley interview dream where he's sitting there with somebody famous and we're stumbling and bumbling and like can't figure out what to say with that person in front of us. Like Paul McCartney's in front of Chris Farley and he's like, remember that time you guys did this thing, but can't give a follow-up question because he's just in awe. It's like, yeah, that was kind of cool. So, you know, because we don't expect a response or because we assume that no one's going to see it or no one in particular going to see it, we tend to not give gratitude for these big, large in life people in reality while they're here because we're something. Now, this is something I've done personally. I wrote a very horrible memoir 6 years ago of life, and a story I told in that thing was a story about it was a story about Penn Teller, Penn and Teller, or Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller. There's basically a chapter in it that talked about some things that basically how some of the things he did, some things he wrote, some things he did kind of influenced some of the things I'm trying to do. And I actually sent him a copy of the book and in like a social media message or something like that. That was like, hey, I like the things you guys do. Love this thing. Here's a copy of going. Thanks so much. You want to do. And I got this sort of just really bland respond back, which is more than you probably needed to do. But I got a response, a really bland response. Here's another example of something I did. There is a writer in England who is he's a business person, a business coach type person. And about a decade ago, I stumbled upon one of his books. And from there, it was literally a book that one of those change your life books, but it changed my perspective in doing things. It showed me that pretty much anybody can do anything. You just have to level down your expectations for what success is. And so that guy said example with the Eddie Van Halen thing, he gets a chance to play gigs around town and have fun with folks and go to jam sessions and do that stuff because Eddie Van Halen. He did not become a mega superstar and cut multiple records, but he has success in what he's doing, and that works out for him. And that's what I learned from this book here. It was basically saying I didn't have to necessarily be the CEO of a major corporation. But I could be the CEO of any corporation I wanted to if I paid the fees and made sure things got legal. And so I started a business that year. Things like that. Somewhere along the lines, I wrote him. It was a review. I wasn't even thinking about reaching out to him. It was a review on Amazon of one of his books. And it was just this thing changed my mind. It made all thoughts I thought my creative ideas were kind of crazy. Now I see a way to put them together. And this guy who didn't know me from Adam sent me a package from the United Kingdom with mini books and postcards. And he had this long flowing things on how the Beatles are really a business lesson, and like every single Beatles track, every single Beatles notion turns into a business lesson. He sent me Beatles postcards, and it was probably $100 worth of stuff, and probably 50 or so on top of that, even more worth of time and effort to write things and autograph things and fill things out. And those books are all over my house because every so often I'll pick one up and go through something. And that was there. The gratitude I showed in just an Amazon review got me that. Now, if everybody that you showed gratitude for did that for you, it'd be a no-brainer. But that's not how things work. In fact, that's not what you should expect. I didn't expect anything from either of those two folks. I got something back from Penn Jillette, which was kind of but I got something back. And I got something back from the other author, who Nicholas Bate, if you will. I'll put some of him in the post as well. And it was amazing. But I did that to folks who I didn't know who were alive. So here is your homework for the next week. And I've done this in sessions before, gratitude stuff. But this is different. If there's somebody out there that you're a super fan of, reach out to them on their social media, or send them a letter via their fan club, or via some sort of, if you have a way to that you know who their agent is, to get to them. Reach out to them and write something substantial, not 4-page letter-ish, nothing Eminem Stan like, but write something to them saying, I love the work you do. You are very entertaining. Your story is inspirational. My kids, you make my kids want to go out there and do exercise instead of playing Xbox all day. Just send something. Do it on social media. Look for their Twitter handle and just message them directly saying, hey, I'm a great big fan. I know I know you get messages all the time, but thank you so much for just doing what you're doing. Hopefully you continue well. Hope your family's well and all these things going on. Do that for somebody you really admire, somebody really super big you probably think you never get close to, and just do that. But expect nothing back for that, because the actuality is those people that a lot of people look up to get a lot of these messages anyway. And some of them are sincere, some of them not so sincere. Sometimes they get a hard time going on. Sometimes people get jaded in the process. So don't expect to be all of a sudden become boys with The Rock or Snoop or Bradley Cooper because you sent something out to them. Although Bradley Cooper, as for what I can hear, basically writes everybody back. So maybe he will do something like that. Do that for somebody super famous, super big, somebody you have no idea how you can get a hold of. Just find their Twitter handle and go from there. At the same time, find 3 other people. 1, 2, 3 other people that you actually know. And maybe you just kind of do this naturally on your own. It's just something that you just sort of throw out there. So if you do, then you've already caught up your homework. It's extra credit. Find 3 people you actually know and tell them something that you're grateful for from them. Tell them that you really do appreciate the way they show up for work, ready to go. Tell them you like the way they always are. They're a very snappy dresser, really impressive. If you know those guys, people that wear funny socks, that are really proud of them, tell them that, man, those socks you wear are really creative. And the ones you wore last week with the tacos on it, that made me laugh and made me want to get some tacos. Go there and find 3 people that you don't necessarily just sort of do that naturally for, I guess. So don't just talk to your spouse, because you should be doing that regardless. But just people people you work with, people around that you see, not just random strangers, unless you're like that. Some people are like that. And offer up something like, dude, I am really glad that I get to see you every couple of days, because those socks always entertain me. They'll say thank you. They might say it in some sort of weird sort of, yeah, thanks, because they aren't expecting it. But don't expect them to basically start gushing out completely in there as well. Show people their gratitude while they're here for you to be grateful for. Because there's a lot of great things people say about people when they've gone, which is the way it should be. You should be celebrating their life and the good things. And some folks, some of the really evil, cruel, bad things are the things that bring people together. So yeah, there's a lot of dumping in those cases. The people need to hear it from somewhere. And maybe maybe that normal person is a very popular like person who gets all these accolades all the time, and maybe they won't accept it. They won't reciprocate for you. It's not the point. Maybe the person is really shy and doesn't know how to react to it, and they won't reciprocate in a way, and that's fine. And here's the weird thing. If the entire world did what I said and found three random people in their life and offered up gratitude, the way things bounce back and forth, there'll be plenty of people in the world who still would not get it back because it's not like it's everybody's assigned to a chain. So that's your homework. Find somebody really, really super famousy and find them on Twitter and just say thank you for whatever it is that they do. They entertain you, they inspire you, they make you giggle. Sometimes they make you scratch your head because of things they said or what's going on. If I'm going to get to voting in a second, if it's one of the presidential candidates, one of your senators or congressmen, one of your local senators or congressmen, your aldermen, whatever it is, maybe it's one of those dudes like that. The lower the level that they are at, the better chance that they may respond to you and have a dialogue on something. But that's beside the point. We are all hailing Eddie Van Halen, and we'll all hail the next person who passed. One of the sort of the weird things about Eddie Van Halen passing is for some reason, not necessarily because he's not wasn't a great guy. A lot of Chadwick Boseman stuff is back. People are back to a Chadwick Boseman phase where he's popping up, and there's a lot of praise going on. We had a thing that was 2 weeks late because of an issue with scheduling for our chapel at school, where we did this big Chadwick Boseman thing about basically being positive and persevering and things like that. And it seems like everybody was playing that same the same Howard University commencement speech in this span anyway, because it's sort of there. So on that level, don't expect any real accolades. On the local level, don't expect any real accolades. You're not doing this to make yourself feel good. You're doing this because it's more or less a good thing to do. You're showing people gratitude, showing people love, and you don't know this, but the randomish thing you say to a person may be the thing that makes their day and keeps them here. There have been so many times that past job I talked about, the Bubble Friday, the actual the reason why it came about, where I would be having a bad day dealing with something one of my actual bosses was throwing down the lines that wasn't working, and they're going nuts, and and I couldn't figure out how I was going to either fix it or get myself out of the situation. And the same guy that worked there, not in my chain of command, just came in to say, "Hey, you know what, John? That little thing, whatchamacallit thing that whatever," and it'd be something that I thought really nothing of, but it'd be whatever he pulls something. It's like, that was really cool how you did that. That was an interesting way to make that work out. I bet they're glad that you were there to make that happen. And then he'd go off and smoke a cigarette. And sometimes when he came that, those were days was like, well, I guess I'm not quitting today. And that was the point. And that was basically all I got out of it. It's like, well, I guess I'm gonna stick around another week or so. So sometimes those little things of gratitude mean much more than you ever know, or maybe you do know, but you're cool enough like him to just slide it out there, and then move along and get things going. I'm gone really long with that, with the extra piece in there. So very quickly, let's talk about voting, and I'm going to give you my plan of voting at this very moment. Monday, 19th of October is the first day of early voting in Arkansas. My plans for Monday morning are to drop off my daughter and get in line to vote. Polls should open around 7:30. I drop her off about 7:20 and usually head to work. On Monday, I'm going to vote Monday morning. I'm standing in line from the get-go. I mean, they may open at 8 o'clock, whatever. I'm going to get in line. You've seen across the nation the record numbers of people early voting early on the first day of early voting, and just voting in general, and the amount of wait times going on. Places in like Georgia and Texas where the entire population, not just the entire population, are now kind of squirrely about the absentee balloting thing and the safer ways of doing and the way early voting is working, that they're showing up, they're bringing lawn chairs, they're staying in line for 8 hours to vote and to do it early. They know who they want and they're going to go ahead and get it done. And so they don't want anything going on. Some people have tried mailing ballots out there, so they were early and they thought they'd be safe. And they're finding out that they've mailed the ballots out weeks ago and they can't get any sort of confirmation that they're in there. So I'm voting Monday morning. My boss will know as soon as I drop on my daughter, I'm in line to vote. And if I can't deal with something, I'm in line to vote. The voting is very big here where we're at. So that's going to happen the first day. Somewhere along the weekend, if my wife can't make time to get in to vote and my brother can't vote, I will drive and park and sit and wait for them to vote. We are going to get our votes in as early as possible, get them done without any hassle. I don't particularly care who you're voting for. Last night, there were competing non-debates, competing town halls between President Trump and Vice President Biden. Once again, giving you reasons why you should pick them to be our commander-in-chief, our leader of the United States another 4 years, or for 4 years for Biden's case. You can vote for whichever guy you think is going to give your life the best shot, but make sure you get out there and you vote. It's important. It's crucial. This is the most important vote of my lifetime. And every year there seems to turn into the most important votes of a lifetime. There's a lot at stake going on. A lot of things people are saying that don't seem to make a lot of sense. So pick the guy that makes the most sense to you and go with it. Trickle that down to all your elections. If you have Senate and House races, do that as well. Local races, do that. Mayoral races, aldermans. We have a bunch of things going on with our school board. We have a lot of things going on in my county and in my ward. That a lot of things are going on. It took a lot of time to figure out who else going to vote for it. So I'm glad I took some real work in the last couple of weeks to kind of get to know some of the candidates and get to know what their positions are. But Monday morning, I'm in line at about 7:30. And I'm going to get this thing done. Figure out how to get in the vote. Today is run out of time. Monday, I believe, is going to be the final day in most places across the nation where you want to get an absentee ballot. You've got to do it and get it at least initiated. Get it in there. Some cases you can mail it in, or it can arrive a few days after the election day, but it goes there. If you do an absentee, get your paperwork in by Monday or earlier today. If you're going early voting, whenever your state starts, and see where it's going to be, see where your spot is, go take care of it, pack a lunch, take time off from work, tell your friends you got to get off the grant for a little bit. You don't want to burn your data. You need to chill out and get your vote in. And that's it. You want to click the right button, support some efforts that I got going on. Go to buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne. And you can buy me coffee. I saw your message, Miss Georgia, about podcasts. Next time we can be seen in person, I'm going to show you how to find podcasts, and not just mine, because there are plenty of podcasts and shows for people, for whatever you want to talk to, and things that you can actually share with your kids on the Chess Club. So I will be speaking with you again. Hopefully next week I'll do this again. Hopefully it'll be a little more tight. Like I said from earlier, these need to be, now that I've known that they work, or they can be done, they need to actually work. So they need to be tighter. They're going to be more intentional. They're going to be more focused, and I'm going to be better at talking to that thing. I've got to. I don't have a choice. Thank you all for popping in live or in the future. Tell me when you saw it, whenever you get a chance to chat, and I'll drop some links in throughout the day. Got to get to work. Got some things to do. But in the meantime, love you all. Thank you so much for having a Bubble Friday to celebrate. Thank you so much for getting up this morning. Some people didn't have the ability, literally the life, to get up this morning. Some people didn't have the mental life to get out of bed and get moving. So if you've done this thing, you got your homework. Go show some gratitude. And don't be one of those folks that is like showing it because you want to get something back from it. Show some gratitude from people who deserve it, especially those who can't do much in return, but say thanks. See you guys next week.